Scarlet Fever by Darlene, New, and Itzel. Strep throat is a common diagnosis today that many children expect to get at one point. However, a century ago, this could have been a sign that strep throat was the antecedent for scarlet fever, a bacterial infection that was seen as dangerous because of the epidemics it caused in Europe in the 19th century. Scarlet fever is similar to strep throat but is accompanied by skin rashes, high fevers, and even fatalities of a severe case. This disease had a large run history, but isn't too common today and can be seen as a sporadic disease. However, you should still be on the lookout for scarlet fever because this infectious pathogen tends to be prominent in children 5 to 15 years old, and outbreak investigations occur in long term facilities, schools, and military training camps. Because it's prevalent in young children, it may suggest that the host factor can be due to a lack of protective immunity. It can develop out of strep throat because of the same causative agent, Streptococcus pyogenes. Asymptomatic pharyngeal carriage of Streptococcus pyogenes occurs in 3 to 26% of healthy children and 3 to 17% of children younger than 5 years of age. Among children with sore throat, 23 to 58% of them have Streptococcus pyogenes being detected. Apart from causing scarlet fever, the pathogen Streptococcus pyogenes is known to cause non-invasive and invasive diseases. It causes diseases such as pharyngitis, acute rheumatic fever, and post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. For this reason, it is very important that each disease has the right treatment to inhibit or kill the bacteria. Systems mainly affected by the pathogen is the respiratory system, but can also affect the integumentary system because of the skin rash it'll cause, and can even progress to the cardiac system if untreated because it has the potential of causing heart inflammation and scarring of the valves. Transmission and habitat. Group A streptococcal infections are commonly spread from direct person to person transmission. Saliva, nasal secretions, and respiratory droplets in the air from an infected person are more likely to transmit the bacteria. It can even spread via foodborne because of improper food handling. Humans are the primary reservoirs for the pathogen, and there's no evidence that pets can transmit the bacteria to humans. Also, fomites are unlikely to spread the bacteria. Signs and symptoms usually appear 2 to 5 days after the initial infection. A rash will start to appear 12 to 48 hours after those symptoms if the strep bacteria has released toxins. After around 6 days, the rash will fade and may start a peeling process around the fingertips, toes, and groin area. However, it's still important to be hygienic because even though your symptoms may subside, the bacteria may still be inhabiting the host and waiting for its next victim to inhabit. The immune response. Because of airborne transmission and direct transmission, the body naturally has a first line of defense from the tightly packed cells on the skin and the mucous membrane of the respiratory system. The respiratory system exhibits the mucociliary escalator and causes expulsion of unknown material in the body by sneezing and coughing. The second line of defense occurs when it enters human tissue and a systematic inflammatory response is initiated, which causes vasodilation of blood vessels and chemotaxis of neutrophil invasion, which would then lead to phagocytosis. However, neutrophil phagocytosis is where things get complicated. What would normally occur is enhanced neutrophil migration in response to chemotaxis, then enhanced engulfment of microbes by phagocytosis, and then stimulation of reactive oxygen species. The release of ROS aids in clearance of invading bacteria because it can cross the membranes of bacterial pathogens and damage their nucleic acids, proteins, and cell membranes. After killing the microbe, the neutrophil will automatically be programmed for cell death and will cause clearance of the microbe by getting engulfed by a macrophage. The third line of defense includes adaptive lymphocytes and antibodies being produced specifically for the pathogenic bacterial cells. Specifically, T helper cells will activate cytotoxic C cells and B cells. B cells will produce specific antibodies for the antigen and serve as a marker on the antigen to get phagocytized by cytotoxic T cells and recognize the antibody marker. This fighting of the cells in your immune system may lead to anemia, fatigue, and loss of energy because of the host's sloppy immune response. Memory B cells and T cells are stored for possible exposure of the same antigen and will produce a much more rapid response to inhibit the possibility of causing any harm to the host again.
The life expectancy of pathogen and host. The pathogen is an extracellular and is known to survive and get around to the host mechanism. One of these mechanisms is to cause the skin infection through hosting. This makes the life expectancy within the host and pathogen longer as to why the skin takes longer to clear up on the infected individual.
Streptococcus pyogenes mainly affects the respiratory system, more specifically the upper respiratory tract, such as the hypopharynx located behind the larynx. While the skin is affected and a rash can be observed, this is not due to a direct effect on the integumentary system, but due to a known occurrence by group A pharyngitis. Interaction with organs. Streptococcus pyogenes causes many inflammatory responses that ranges from loose connective tissues such as the skin, lymph nodes, and pharynx. Due to the multiple immune responses, this could lead to streptococcal shock driven by the release of cytokines produced by monocytes by the host immune system. The first step, the pathogen binds to the extracellular matrix that supports cells and tissues, and when damaged, allows Streptococcus pyogenes to adhere. Another way of interaction with host cells is Streptococcus pyogenes has a pili that is able to withstand forces from host defenses due to the isopeptide bond, responsible for proteolytic instability. The AP2 protein on the tip of the pili of the pathogen assists in finding a particular tissue and initiates intimate adherence. Step 2. The pathogen is able to evade detection from host immune responses because it has similar antigens present that resembles normal cells' antigens, such as muscles, heart valves, and fibroblasts. Step 3. Streptococcus pyogenes causes plasminogen to go through the process of internalization into host cells and conversion of plasminogen into plasmin, thus causing colonization of tissues and entry to deeper tissues. Step 4. Scarlet fever is caused when the Streptococcus pyogenes releases the exotoxin erythrogenic, which causes the collection of symptoms rather than a specific body site infection. Step 5. Host immune system starts inflammation to kill bacteria and lymph node may become swollen due to body trying to fight off the infection. Interaction with lungs. To be more specific, Streptococcus pyogenes is introduced into the lungs by inhalation or spread to other areas. SFBI protein of Streptococcus pyogenes is the primary adhesion for respiratory tract or skin. The protein is covered by fibronectin, which aids in binding of A5B1 integrin receptors easily with host cells. The pathogen binds to the extracellular matrix that supports cells and tissues, and when damaged, allows Streptococcus pyogenes to adhere. And the whole process occurs as previously explained while the host causes inflammation to kill off the bacteria, and in mild cases, the body will heal. Symptoms associated with scarlet fever are commonly seen in various infections, such as a sore throat, high fever, swollen lymph nodes, or nausea. However, distinguishing characteristics of other symptoms associated with scarlet fever includes a bumpy red tongue that is red, otherwise known as strawberry tongue, a red rash covering a large surface area, and red lines on folds of skin.
Treatments. Treatments given to individuals with scarlet fever include penicillin that can be given for 10 days. For children, it is preferred to give 250 milligrams twice or 3 times a day. For adults, 250 milligrams to 500 milligrams 3 to 4 times daily. Amoxicillin is also given for 10 days, 50 milligrams once a day or 25 milligrams twice a day. For individuals who are allergic to antibiotics relating to penicillin are given alternatives such as cephalexin 20 milligrams once a day for 10 days or cefadroxil 30 milligrams once daily for 10 days. Outcomes with statistics. Scarlet fever has a very high recovery rate. Individuals with the disease recover in 3 to 6 days, whereas the skin symptoms clear up in 14 to 21 days. The disease can rarely reoccur.
Conclusion. Scarlet fever isn't so dangerous after all, because of how much more advanced we are today with antibiotics than we were centuries ago. Treatment with an antibiotic regimen is essential to shorten the duration of symptoms and reduce the likelihood of transmission and to prevent the development of complications. Antibiotic doses can alleviate the symptoms because of group A streptococcus bacteria being susceptible to them, despite its lethal toxins and evasion tactics. And these are our references. Thank you.